Hey Vinelife, it's Luke here. Sorry I couldn't be with you today. I'm probably just catching up on sleep from welcoming a new baby into our lives. But hey, I'm excited to talk to you. And today we're starting a brand new conversation we're calling Household. And for the next few weeks, we're going to be continuing this teaching series. I don't know about you, my favorite holiday of all time is Thanksgiving because it's the holiday that's focused around food, right? To be fair, every American holiday is focused around food, but that's besides the point. I love Thanksgiving because there's that time of the day where everybody's gathered around a table, and you're looking around the table when you have a big scoop of mashed potatoes and meat and the whole thing, and you're looking around and you're not even sure you know everybody. You know, you have extended family there and friends, and somebody invited some strangers, and everybody might even be just getting acquainted, but that's okay. Everybody still belongs at the table, and everybody is able to give thanks. And I love that experience together. So much so that earlier this summer, I wanted to kind of recreate that experience for my family. And so I decided I'm going to build our very own patio table, kind of rustic barnhouse patio table. And so I went to the sawmill and got some blue pine, as you see right here, this solid blue pine top and a cedar base. It's just perfect. And you might not know this because you only see me talking, so you think that's my only talent, but I actually know how to do a couple things with my two hands. And so I put together this solid piece of construction right here. And over the summer, it's been awesome because several nights a week, my family and I are able to sit out here with friends, with family, and enjoy each other's company. And it's that time, the family dinner experience is that time of the day where everything slows down just enough where we can actually really enjoy each other's company, enjoy some good conversation, some good food. We tell jokes, we embellish stories. It's that experience, and it's a brilliant time to share it with others, right? And you know, it's always different when we come around the table, but it's always somehow the same. It's just this rich, memorable experience when we're able to get around each other and bless the food and bless each other around the table. But if you've ever hosted a family dinner before, you know how much work it takes, right? Like it doesn't just happen. It's not like the food just appears and everything is set and ready to go, right? There's a lot of work that goes into a family dinner experience. And so first of all, you have to clean the table and you have to set the table. You have to get all the dishes out. And then comes the cooking. Now, in my household, my wife is awesome, and she does all the cooking and all the shopping in our house, and she pretty much has that handled, and she knows how to do it so well. Even all of our friends, all these weird dietary restrictions and strange allergies they seem to make up every time they come over, right? She knows how to accommodate all of those. I get stuck with the grilling. I do an okay job at the grilling most of the time. And then I get to pour drinks, which is always kind of fun for me. But besides the cooking, there's all these other things that have to happen, right? Because we have to get the kiddos ready around the table, and that's no small feat. And if your house is like my house, we're only mildly successful at getting the kids at the table on time and ready to go and ready to eat and with a good attitude, right? And we have to, even for the kids, get the small dishes, right? The small cups and forks and plates. And then for the really small kids, some of you know what this is like, you have to cut up the food into these tiny little chunks, right? So that when they have the food, it makes it easier for them to just throw off the table, right? And so it takes a lot of work to come together for the family dinner experience. And then you have the guests who come, and oftentimes they're coming with a dish ready to contribute something, ready to share an offering with the rest of the people at the table. And there's all kinds of work that comes into the family dinner experience. But when you sit down and you bless the food, somehow it all just kind of comes together, and it's beautiful. Now, when we look at the scripture, it's awesome because we see that God's plan for the church is a lot like the family dinner table. And that's why all over the New Testament, Paul and other writers refer to the church as the household of God. And we read in, for instance, Ephesians 2:19, it says that you are no longer strangers and aliens, now that you are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. There's this really cool Greek word. It's called Oikos, that means household. You may have seen this word before in the grocery store. I don't know if you've ever seen this word. Also doubles as yogurt. Some really good Oikos. Anyways, in the scripture though, this word oikos, it means something different than what we commonly define as household. Oftentimes in the household of God, we refer to our families, our nuclear families as household, like our spouse, our 2.5 kids, our dog, pet turtle, all of those things. That's our nuclear family, right? But the household in the New Testament was much different because oftentimes people lived with more than just their nuclear family. They lived with their coworkers or extended family or friends. It wasn't just this small, tight-knit thing. It was more expansive, and oftentimes it referred to those people that were connected to your home life, your whole home experience. And so Paul writes to the household several times in the New Testament. And there's 2 types of household texts, is what they call them, in the New Testament. And sometimes Paul would write to the household like the family at home and the extended family, and he would write to them and instruct them on how they are to live and conduct themselves. And so that's why, and sometimes when you read the Bible, it instructs wives and husbands and children and parents and slaves and masters, and it says, this is how you are to treat one another. This is how you are to live with one another as a witness to God. But then there's other household texts, Oikos texts, where Paul would write to the household of faith. And that's why in places like Titus and 1st and 2nd Timothy, he would write to different kinds of relationships. And so he would write to elders and deacons, and he'd write to older women, and this is how you're to talk to younger women and older men and younger men. And all these vibrant, robust relationships that happen not just at home, but in the household of faith. Because you see, at the end of the day, the church is simply a family of families on mission together. And so we get to share this thing together. But this word household, sometimes it draws up negative connotations because, again, if you've ever been in a household environment, you know it takes a lot of work. Sometimes you pull a lot of weight, right? And sometimes you have to do things that are unseen and things that cost a lot for the sake of loving and caring for the people in your household. And some of you maybe know what that's like when it comes to serving the household and loving the household and making preparations in the household. You know what it's like to feel like you're sacrificing a lot, like it costs a lot, like you're spending a lot of time and a lot of energy, and you're not even sure if it's being noticed. You're not even sure if it's being appreciated by anybody. And so even in the household of faith, it's not much different than in your household. In the household of faith, sometimes we get to that point where we ask the question, like, why bother? I mean, I continue to work and I serve and I do these things and I give of myself, and I'm not sure that anybody really notices. Have you ever felt that way? I mean, I've felt that way. I'm sure a lot of us have felt that way. And even in this community, there are so many people who give a lot of who they are to the rest of everybody else, and you might not even know it most of the time. But I love that Paul, he writes to that kind of person. He writes to somebody who's asking that question of why even bother? And here's what he says in Galatians 6:9. He says this, "Do not grow weary in doing good, for in due time you will reap a harvest." And then he continues to say, he said, don't miss any opportunity to do good, especially to those in the household of faith. All right? And so what he's saying is like, listen, I know it takes a lot. I know it costs a lot. And there's going to be times you want to throw in the towel. There's going to be times you need to call a timeout and just remove yourself because you're not sure if you have anything else in you. But Paul's saying, listen, as you serve the household of faith, as you look at the opportunities, don't grow weary in doing good. Because why? Because there is a harvest that awaits you. But maybe on the flip side, there's some of you in the community, maybe you're newer to the community, and you haven't actually experienced yet what it feels like to contribute to the family. And that's really what it feels like to be a part of the family. And some people, they want to feel a part of the family. They want to feel connected. The best way to feel connected to a family is to give of yourself to the family, to show up with something for everybody else to receive, to show up with a gift that others get to partake of, right? And so what does that look like? See, in a family like this, in a household like ours, there's so many different opportunities for us to be a part, right? And in the household of faith, there's awesome things because we all get to give, we all get to serve, we all get to teach and share what God has given to us. And it's our joy to take what he's given to us and to bless those around us. And that's the thing is, over the series, you're going to hear about some different opportunities here at Vinelife where you can make a huge impact and give of yourself to build up the household of faith. Because at the end of the day, what it looks like to love the household of faith is to love the part of the house that you hold. And so be blessed today as you hear about some of these opportunities. Do not miss an opportunity to do good, because God's promise to you today is that you will reap a harvest. Whether you're seen, whether you're known, whether you're celebrated, whether you're appreciated, those things are all awesome, and we want those things to happen. But God's promise to us, to you and I today, is that we will reap a harvest as we continue to pour into the household of faith.